I wake, although I feel I've only just closed my eyes the night prior. Unrested, sore, and malnourished, I try to get to my feet, slipping in the rain-soaked dirt. Rain? No, water doesn't exist here. I've known this for years. Or was it days? I feel as if only yesterday I was grabbing that paper off the board, coming into the Deadlands due to my own foolish and headstrong nature. Once I finally get to my feet, I feel a pit open up in my stomach. I want to throw up, but there's nothing in me that could come out. Trying to take a step forward, I realize I am falling, as if I entered the pit that opened up within me. When did the ground vanish? Had I been walking? Did I simply forget to keep an eye on where I was headed? How deep did this pit go? I feel like I've been falling for days. Or has it been years? I hit the dirt, yet I don't feel a thing. Looking around at my surroundings, I see exactly where I was just a moment. I think it was a moment. Yes, only a moment ago I was here. Standing myself up, once more I watch as the thick black substance I mistook for water slides off my legs. It appears like tar, but the consistency of the substance never quite stays the same, and it's nothing like tar really is. I let out a sigh and take another step forward, but my walk doesn't last very long. I feel a tightness around my wrists holding me still. When I turn to look at what's holding me, I see chains attached to a wall somewhere far beyond my field of vision. Turning around, I see myself standing in a more open field. Taking a moment to think, I remember that I just arrived in this clearing this afternoon. I think I've only been standing here trapped like this for the past few months. Right? As I begin to try and wrap my head around where I am and how long I've been here, I feel my mind grow clear. I feel like I can think straight once more as a figure comes from the tree line. A woman with an almost bald head that has scars stretching across most of it come towards me. She gives me a loving smile, one filled with sharp teeth, ripe for ripping meat. Although I feel I should fear her, part of me finds comfort in her arrival. If you were to look only over her upper half, she would appear to be quite the normal individual, if not riddled with a few oddities, but once you get to her waist, it seems to break off into four legs, pointed at the end, creating pinpricks in the ground as she walks. Her smile changes to a look of shock and her pace quickens.
Jeck! Oh my, you must learn to be more careful. You're so awfully pale. Hold still.
She says to me as she approaches. Come to think of it, I'm moving closer to her as well. Looking back down at my arms, I lift them both up, realizing now that they had disconnected from the elbow. Uneven strips of my flesh hung limply around the broken and cracked bones within. As my eyes widen, I feel a scream in my throat, yet I can't even bring myself to make a noise.
Stay right here, Jeck. I'll fix you right up. I always do.
She said to me, walking behind me. I turned to see where she was headed, and watched as she used her razor-sharp nails to cut the chains loose. The chains that still gripped tightly onto my forearms. Once she freed them, she approached me again, giving me the same loving smile she did before.
How you find yourself in such reckless positions I'll never understand, but Mother wants to make sure you're well taken care of. See? Now your arm is reattached like it never left. The more you do this, the weaker that skin will be. See the scars from the last time you did this?
She pointed down at my arm, tracing her sharp nail gently across a scar line just above where my arm had been severed this time. Strange. I don't remember ever being in a position like this. With my mind clear, I was fairly confident this was the first time it had ever happened.
Such a strong fighter like yourself shouldn't be so careless with your health. I love you, Jeck dear, but I can't keep taking care of you like this. Someday you'll have to go out on your own and learn to fend for yourself.
Mother?
Oh, that's so sweet. But you know I'm not your mother, Jeck. Just your loving big sister.
She moves a hand up and cups my cheek. What she said before sounded just like what my mom had told me when I was rather young. I knew I could fend for myself. That's why I came here. I was fending for myself this whole time. Her soft smile changed for only a moment, and when I blinked, I could no longer see her. The dead trees around me soared as if I was flying through them, but when I looked down and behind me, nothing was dragging me anywhere. I could no longer tell if I was the one moving, or if the trees and ground were. Another blink, and suddenly I saw a large maw opening up to swallow me. Unable to react in time, I found myself surrounded in an ever-growing darkness. My body felt light. More than light, my body felt like it wasn't there at all. I floated through the void, staring into the darkness. The silence was palpable. It was so quiet that somehow it was louder than any noise I'd ever heard before. Closing my eyes yielded no reprieve from the endless assault of the nothingness. I felt my mind breaking, screaming, wondering where I was. Was this it? Had I died within the bog? There's no way. My loving older sister would have saved me. Right? No, I had no siblings. I'm an only child. Mother and father only ever had me. As my mind circled around this line of questioning, I felt like it would never end. Asking the same questions, getting the same answers. Where was my sister? Why had she abandoned me? Suddenly, a voice.
Reghyt, you distasteful slug! Release him at once! Don't look at me like that. I know what you have in your mouth. Drop him this instant.
Light filled my eyes and I felt myself gasping for air, just realizing I hadn't been breathing this entire time. As my eyes adjusted to the open sky, I saw a figure looming over me. Long, dark cloth covered their whole body, and I could see no face within the hood. Shadows within moved as if the void I had just exited existed entirely where her face and head should be. A skeletal hand was held out. Death?
No, not death, my sweet Jeck. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Mother did not want you vanishing today and sent me out to get you. I'd ask how you're feeling, but I honestly don't care to know.
I instinctively took her hand and she pulled me up. Turning to face Reghyt, I saw the two glowing lights I could only imagine were its eyes looking at me. I shuddered. I thought I killed him. I thought I killed this thing before. Or had I only dreamt it? Had it not even happened yet? It was too real to be a dream. When was I?
Off you go, Reghyt. Mother is displeased with you at the moment. It would do you good to leave Jeck alone for the time being, lest she let him slay you again.
If a monstrosity like Reghyt could cower or let out a whimper, it did, and moved away, deeper into the trees.
You know it is dangerous to be out in this area all by yourself, Jeck. If you'd only told me you were going to come here, I would have come with you. Look at the trouble you got yourself in. You could have died.
I'm sorry, Father.
Father? I am not your father, Jeck. Honestly, Fennins are so strange. Do they all forget who their family is? Or are you just the strangest to come out of the entire strange bunch?
The advice she had given me, scolding me like my father had when I first went to hunt a bear. It had almost ripped me in two. At least, I think it had. My father and mother. The words my two sisters... No, these daughters of Aradia spoke to me did not belong to them. They were the words of my sisters, not my parents.
Here you go. You're out of the dangerous area. Stay out without one of us with you next time, okay? I've got better things to do than save you whenever you and Reghyt get into a fight. You're like children, the two of you. Just learn to get along.
Reghyt and I never got along. He was always poking his nose in my business. Couldn't my sister see that? Oh well. Reghyt was still a baby. He'd grow up and learn sometime. As I continued walking forward, I felt myself bump into something once more. Stepping back and getting ready to snap, I stopped myself, realizing who I had just walked into. Aradia turned around, looking at me with cold, hard eyes. Her expression said she was unimpressed, but once she laid eyes on me, her cold expression changed to a smile with intent I could not understand.
Ah, Jeck. So lovely to see you. I heard about your scuffle with Reghyt earlier today. I hope you aren't harmed.
I wanted to tell her no, but my mouth betrayed me, staying shut. I couldn't even shake my head. My whole body was stiff.
Oh, don't worry. You have no reason to be upset. Here, follow my lead. Pull your arm back like this and... Perfect.
There I stood, a blade in my hand, plunged deep into the mass that was Reghyt. A pathetic and horrid sound filled the air as she shriveled. Letting go of the blade, I took a step back, looking at the corpse of the thing that had swallowed me earlier this day or month. When I turned to face my mother again, Aradia was gone. In her place now was my home. Inside, I saw my father and mother making a meal. I took a single step forward before hesitating, looking over the building. It was just as I had always remembered it. After a few more moments, I walked forward and placed my hand on the handle of the door. I could feel the handle in my palm, and as I went to open the door and step inside, another girl stood there, her arms flung around me in a hug.
Welcome home, Jeck. We've been waiting for you. Dinner's almost ready.
When she pulled away, and I looked at the girl who had just hugged me, I felt like my eyes couldn't focus on her. Every movement she made was a blur. I could make out every detail on her, and yet none of them made any sense to me. Like it all melded together. Where is Father? I thought I saw him in the window from outside.
Are you still on about that? Mother made us all in her own image. We don't have a father. I mean, look at yourself. You're just like us.
I looked down to my hands. I looked exactly like I remember. But she called me a Fenin.
What? She called you a Fenin again? Ugh, when will she learn? Just because you're Mom's favorite doesn't give her a right to treat you so poorly. I'm so sorry, Jeck. Someday we'll break your sister out of this phase she's going through.
As I went to sit down at the table, I began searching my memories. Had she called me a Fenin before? Looking over to my left, I saw a door that was slightly ajar leading into my bedroom. I remember sitting in there, with tears in my eyes as a boy, recalling the first time that my sister had called me a Fenin. I remember being so upset by it, and Mother had to come comfort me all night. Looking back at the table, food had been placed before me, and my whole family had suddenly sat down.
Jeck, are you not hungry? You haven't eaten all day. Are you feeling all right?
Don't let this food go to waste. You need to eat up. That leg wound isn't going to heal itself, you know.
Quit pampering him! It's his own fault he stepped into that bear trap this morning.
You are so cruel, you know that? What did he ever do to you?
Reghyt even chimed in with a strange noise, but I didn't understand what it meant. Then Aradia stood up and came to my side of the table.
You seem confused, Jeck. Did you have that dream again? The one where those two Fenins were taking care of you?
I nodded.
This is your fault, you know.
I didn't do anything.
Quiet, you two. Jeck, allow me to remind you that you are mine, and mine alone.
She stood me up and proceeded to embrace me, hugging me close and humming softly.
No matter what happens to you here, no matter what they may tease you with, you will always remember this feeling. I know you will. No matter how much time has passed, a mother's hug will last long after she lets go.
I leaned into the all too familiar feeling of a hug from my mother.